Welcome to Sinagra, Western Australia. Behind me is one of Home Group's latest display homes, the Rockport Platinum. It is a 4x2 with a theatre and an activity. It's sitting on a 450 square metre lot with a 15 metre frontage. We've got a built-up area of 295 square metres. Let's head inside and take a look.
The reason why I'm making these videos is to help you break down these floor plans and give you the time to digest them. It can be a little bit overwhelming walking through display homes, so please use this video as a tool to help select the right floor plan for you. Stick around to the end of the video if you want to learn more about the pricing and how much it costs to build this house. Let's start from the front of the home. Let's go.
Starting with the front facade of the home, or the front elevation, we have this feature frame, I guess, that they've put in front of the garage. Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of the way this looks. I think it's a bit of, wasted dollars, but I guess maybe it's in fashion at the moment. We already do have the T-bar running across the top of the garage anyway, so I feel like this is a little bit excessive. We could have gotten away with maybe a pier with some tiled cladding on top. Behind it, we do have a travertine tiled feature wall on this side and on this side. I'm a huge fan of tiling to the front. One, because it looks really clean and neat, and two, it's actually really cost effective. It's going to be a lot cheaper than a lot of your single course recycled brick with white mortar. And it's very, very easy to maintain. So the front, we've got our really high eaves to the front. We've got a highlight window above that entry door, a fixed frame panel window here with no transoms. So that's actually our walk-in robe on this side. And then over here, we have our sliding doors. So we've got a structural column and a corner window on both sides. And then we've got a 28 course sliding door to the front bedroom. To be completely honest, I don't really like the way that a sliding door makes the front of the house look. You're really limited on what you can do with the framing of that front room when you add a sliding door on. But if this is, across the road from a park, or you're going to really be opening up the front to get a sea view or a sea breeze, or you have a nice veranda, it's definitely the way to go. So they've just showcased that in this design, but in terms of aesthetics and the way it makes it look, I think compared to some of other Home Group's other front facades, this is probably one of my least favorites so far. And I say that with lots of love. But let's head inside and see what the rest of the home looks like.
We're in the entry passageway, a T-shaped entry. So as we walk in, we've got basically a blank wall. We can go to the right and to the left. And then if you come through and have a look at the front entry door, Maddie, you'll see that we do have our 25 course Delavita entry door, but we have a highlight window above it, which I quite like that, especially if you've got high ceilings in the entry, which we do at 34 course. It just opens up the space, lets in a lot of natural light. So this is fairly unique to this display home. You'll see that we actually have a dropped ceiling with a light trough in the entry passageway, which I think is a really nice touch. I can't see that being too expensive to add in compared to, say, a drop ceiling and light trough on a kitchen, but that's a really nice entry feature. And then the T section, so the wall that we're facing, it's got travertine tiling on it, which I think looks absolutely stunning. So a lot of grays in the house. The walls, they're not white, they're all a very light gray color. And I'm already noticing a lot of blue. I think they've gone with a Santorini vibe inside the house. So yeah, it looks quite nice, but let's take a walk through and see what else we can see. So this is actually a feature that I've tried to recommend a few of my clients before, but I haven't really been able to show them good examples in display homes because Home Group haven't really been doing this feature in display homes for quite some time, but I'm a really big fan and I'll tell you why. So what I'm talking about is this very shallow bulkhead and recess for the TV. So see where this travertine tiling is? It is actually on the back wall of this TV recess, but it's not a traditional TV recess where you might see it, recessed 500 mil under the eaves. All this is an additional leaf of brickwork on either side, and then we've got the bulkhead running across the top. Now this is a much cheaper way to achieve a TV recess than doing it the conventional way. And the other benefit of doing this is it doesn't take up a lot of space. So if you imagine we had a 500 mil TV recess in here, we're going to be taking a lot of room away from the theatre, and we don't have that much depth. So I think it's a beautiful feature. I have once in the past, I tried to recommend it to one of my clients and they said, no, we're not convinced. And I think a big reason for that is we haven't really been able to showcase it on display. So yeah, I think it's a really great feature. There's a plinth at the bottom, so there's a bit of brickwork if you have a look at the bottom where it's that dark charcoal color. So a little bit of brickwork at the bottom, so they've put the shelf on top of that, and then the travertine tiling behind. All right, so coming off the entry, we've seen the theatre to the right. Now turning to the left, we can either go to the main living quarters or to the master bedroom. We're going to check out the master bedroom first. So the first bit of detail, you can see that we've got our entry door inset by quite a bit. It looks like it's about 600 mil. We've also got a dropped bulkhead over the top of the entryway. It looks like it's sitting at about 29 courses. And then we have another drop ceiling in this foyer at about 31 courses. So there's a lot going on in this T section of the home. So they've turned a boring part of the house into a feature again. And I really like how they've done that. So coming through to the master bedroom, we've got a drop zone or a little recess feature. Again, with the brickwork, bulkhead and the travertine tiling on that back wall. Really nice. Again, trying to keep us entertained as we walk through little boring parts, or meant to be boring parts of the home. And then we come on through to the master bedroom. So you'll see that the feature that I was talking to you guys about in the theatre, they've replicated that here in the master bedroom as well. So again, in the master, you'll see a lot of the time a bigger bulkhead over the top of the bed with, maybe some pendant lights dropping down either side. Here, they've just gone with the more subtle feature. Through here, we have our walk-in robe. To be honest, it's pretty small. So I'll let you come and have a look, Maddie, but for a house this size, it's a pretty small walk-in robe. With how much space has been given to other areas of the home, probably could have made this space a little bit bigger because storage is important. And then through here, of course, we do have the ensuite. So we've got the freestanding bath next to a big window, double walk-in shower, double vanity, and then the toilets tucked away here. So yeah, pretty much everything you need. It's a nice ensuite. I probably would have given a little bit more space to the walk-in robe, and it's a very open plan. So it's a resort style ensuite. So I know that's in fashion at the moment. I like what they've done here, similar to what they've done in the Melrose, where they've combined tiled brickwork with fixed panels of glass. So the benefit of doing that and not having it tiled the whole way through is two things. One, we get to let in a lot more natural light, especially next to the vanity. And number two is we are not feeling as claustrophobic as we would if we had this all tiled, because behind Maddie here is a tiled wall. Imagine if this was tiled as well, you're gonna start feeling really closed in. And then on top of that, it creates a free ledge for us on either side. So we've got a ledge on this side and a ledge on the other side, purely because we decided to put a glass panel here instead of just having it tiled all the way up. Fixed panel glass on this side of the shower recess too, which allows you to let in a little bit more light. So we're utilizing the window behind me there to maximize the light coming through the room, which is great. So yeah, they've done well in this room. So we've just entered the main living quarters of the home. So the family dining kitchen, all in one section here. It's absolutely stunning. I'm going to break down some of the finer details in this room. And of course, you're gonna hear me talking about brickwork and bulkheads because that's what makes this room really stand out as a display home. So the first thing I want to point out is this TV recess. Looking at it, you might just think, okay, you're talking to your design consultant and you've said, I want a TV recess in because you've seen it in a display home. So some things to point out here is that we've got 2 layers of brickwork. So it's not inset immediately. And what's happening is it's allowing us to level in the TV recess step by step rather than just having it happen in one go. This just adds more detail and more, I guess, luxury to this space. The thing that really frames this beautifully is having the contrasting paint. So most of this room is painted in a light gray. Then we've got a darker rhino gray on this wall here, which frames everything really nicely. In a normal floor plan, this will just be a flat wall. So if you look at even the Designer Plus or the luxury floor plan, this won't be included in it. It's just gonna be flat. If you just simply say TV recess, there are many different ways you can actually configure a TV recess. The other important thing to note is when you have windows and bulkheads near each other, it's really important to make sure that they try and match up. Otherwise, the room's going to feel a little bit off. So here you can see that the window on this side will end at 28, and then we've got our 28 course bulkhead here too. So you'll hear me talking about double leaf brickwork a lot, and that's because it makes the house look amazing. In your standard luxury and Designer Plus floor plans, they will not be included anywhere. So what I mean by that is, imagine if we looked at, say, this wall or this wall here, it will be 1 leaf of brickwork. So it'll be half the size of what you're seeing here. The reason for that is because it's less expensive to build a house with less material and less labor. But the reason why they do it in the display homes is because they know that it makes the house feel more premium, look more premium. Definitely an expensive item to add in if you're going to do it everywhere. But if you're selective about where you're putting this additional leaf of brickwork, it's going to make a huge difference to your home. You can see there's double leaf brickwork on that entry nib also. One more place I want to show it to you guys is here. So in the passageway to the minor bedroom, so this nib wall that they've added is again a double leaf nib wall. When you add these bits of brickwork in, it's going to reduce the space in the room. I've had a lot of my clients recently asking for double leaf nib walls behind the vanity because I've obviously been talking about that a lot. And in a lot of cases it works, but in some cases there's actually not enough space in the entire house to accommodate for that because you're actually reducing the size of the room. It's important to know about it and potentially add it in places, but it's not applicable absolutely everywhere. So we've got our Della Vita luxury kitchen. We've got a 34-course ceiling here, 31-course drop ceiling with the light trough above it. We've got the pendant light as well above the island, which I'm a big fan of. It's about 2.2 meters long. We've got a bit of an IT nook happening here. To be honest, I haven't met many people that have wanted to keep something like this in the kitchen area. I think it does look nice in a display home, but functionally, I'm not sure if it would stay this neat. If it was, a family home, I think it would probably just collect a bit of junk, but everyone's different. As a display, it looks really nice. Through here we have the scullery and then the laundry. What I like about this space is I like that we have our door on the laundry, but something else that they've done really well, which you might not pick up on straight away because it looks right, is the bulkhead. So you can see that the bulkhead is flush with this wall. The standard bulkheads that you would have that get added into these homes would only sit about halfway out above the cabinets. So the fact that they've brought this out, it's now sitting nice and flush, you would need to ask for that. So this dotted line would be in line with this whole section here. So when you're looking at a 2D floor plan, it's going to be really hard to kind of see where that dotted line is because you're going to have those dotted lines representing the overhead cabinets as well. So it's probably best you ask your consultant, whoever's designing your home, to make sure if you are going for a bulkhead that's sitting flush with a protruding wall, that it's sitting in line with the wall and not inset. Other than that, It's a fairly standard room. We've got our window here to let in a little bit more light, which I think looks great. Elevator, luxury scullery, and then the luxury laundry through here. Pretty standard, but yeah, all together, which is, I think, a good layout. And then of course the Alfresco out the back, and we'll have a look at that next. Okay, so I've actually spoken about these doors quite a bit in some of my previous videos. If you've ever heard me talking about a double sliding door instead of a stacking door, this is exactly what I was talking about. So when you were upgrading our sliding doors, you know, to let in a little bit more light or make the house feel more luxurious, this is a really, really good option in terms of value for money. So the difference between this and a stacker door is that this one only has 2 sliding glass panels. So we've got an opening panel on this side, and then of course the fixed panel behind it, and then an opening panel on this side. If both of these panels also moved, that would make it a stacker door. But here we've only got enough space for this, so they've only got the sliding door in here. It's not that expensive to go to, especially if you're keeping the heights at 25 course. So yeah, it's nice that they've put this feature in here. Let's step out to the Alfresco. Obviously, the major upgrade is that we've got render everywhere. That's making the biggest difference. A lot of the display homes will just have a recessed ceiling with the eaves as HardieFlex, but here they've done a complete separation. So to have this feature is quite expensive. So it's another upgrade on top of just having a recessed ceiling. The biggest difference is when you are in the Alfresco, you can't really see the eaves. So it completely separates the eaves from our plasterboard ceiling. I think it looks amazing. Of course, it is really nice, you know, especially when you have it like this. So this T-bar is sitting at about 28 courses. So we've got a lot of rendered brickwork above it. But in terms of budget, it does take a lot of money to get to this point. So it's not going to be for everyone, but it's nice that it's featured in this display home. All right, so we're coming through this passageway. This is going to lead to the minor bedrooms. So beds 2, 3, and 4. And we also have an activity space here. So we often get asked, as people designing these houses, to delete the activity. You know, a lot of my clients will say, I don't need it, it's a waste of space. Can we add it to some of the bedrooms? And in a lot of the cases, it's very easy to do. This configuration actually uses the activity as kind of a common area, a passage area. So you can imagine if you try to give this entire space to another room, let's say you might want to give it to this bedroom here and then pull this wall across, then all you're going to be doing is you're going to be creating a passageway. So it is doable, but you need to realize that in some designs, it's a bit of a compromise. It is a needed space and it does work quite effectively. Be careful when you're asking to delete an activity. It's not always going to work well, but it is a common request. So don't be afraid to ask your consultant for it. Let's have a look at our storeroom. So here we've got a linen, which is always needed. And on this side, we have a full-size powder room. Study nook here. So this one, to build something out like this, you just have the brickwork ready and then a bit of, you know, distance eating into that alfresco space. So you might say we don't need the study nook and make the alfresco bigger, which is an easy fix. Behind Maddie here, walking through, we've got one of the minor bedrooms. Fairly standard, bit of nice Santorini vibe wall paint or wallpaper. Lots of nice whites and blues. This is pretty cool as well. So another minor bedroom. And then of course our bathroom. With this bathroom, again, we've got the tiled wall split between with some fully frameless glass and a fixed panel on this side. And then we have a nice niche here as well. One thing I do like about these niches is that it's going end to end inside the shower recess. So instead of having it kind of cut out like a box, it's going the full length. So, you know, a lot of my videos I talk about a ledge wall. I guess this is one step up from that in terms of cost and design. It really does look nice. So we've got a lintel sitting here so that they can then brick up the rest of the wall. One thing I do want to point out, if you are looking to do your pre-start soon, what they've done really well here is you can see that this activity area is tiled. We've got a kind of like an ash gray light tile color, And then we have the exact same color in the minor bathroom. I think that's really important to keep in mind. If you're going from one tiled area of the home to another, if you don't want it to look mixed matched, then try to keep it the same unless you're going for a specific theme. So yeah, it looks really nice and flows really well the way they've done it. I am going to talk to you about the pricing and how it all works. So you'll see in these display homes that you'll have a little pamphlet like this, and there'll be two models of this display home. So we've got the luxury and the designer plus. What you need to understand is there's always a price that's connected to both of these models. So the designer plus at the moment, we're in June 2025, it's $424,000, and the luxury is $451,000. There isn't an actual price for the display home. So a lot of the time, you might come in and say, how much does it cost to build this house? The sales rep working here doesn't have an exact figure to work off, but I've designed a lot of homes that are very similar to the exact layout of display homes. And to build something like this, you're going to be spending $700,000 to maybe $710,000 if you are including everything. Now, when I say everything, I mean the cabinetry, the exposed aggregate in lieu of the pavers, the high ceilings, everything that you see in the display home, the shadow line corners. Really, you're going to be spending at least $700,000. Do you need to? Absolutely not. So my recommendation is, if you do want to build something similar to the display home, the first thing you need to actually ask your building consultant for is the floor plan of the platinum display home, because that's going to really identify the key differences between the platinum and the luxury. The first difference you need to look at is the size, the second is the layout, and the third will be the brickwork, ceiling heights, and bulkheads. Without having those two plans in front of you, you're not going to get a good gauge of what you're actually paying for. So the luxury, you know the price, and then everything else you're doing to change it from the luxury to the platinum, you're going to be paying over and above the luxury price. My recommendation is, if you want to get best value for money, do all of the structural items through the builder. So your ceiling heights, your frames, your bulkheads, your brickwork, but leave the extra cabinetry to the very end, because that's what's going to cost you a lot. Also, I know you guys love shadow line cornicing, but in my opinion, it's not worth it. If you have to have it, I'll just pick maybe one room or two rooms to put it in and just do a standard cornice, or maybe even a three-step cornice instead, because that will really increase how much you're spending. But yeah, so luxury, you're looking at $451, designer plus is $424, and then the platinum, I'd say with everything, is about $710,000 to build it as you see it.